Well, it seems that all is hunky-dory in the Middle East. A ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon, and if President Trump is to be believed, a US-Iran deal could just be around the corner.
The negotiation itself has gone very well, actually. Very well.
Mr. President,
It could happen. I mean, if it happens, and it might not happen, who knows? But if it happens, it could happen like over the weekend.
But is it really the case? Well, let's understand what's actually happening. After days of talks in Washington, Israel and Lebanon have agreed to implement a ceasefire framed by the United States as a step towards broader peace and stability arrangement in the region. The deal hinges on Hezbollah halting fire and withdrawing its fighters from southern Lebanon, while the Lebanese army gradually takes exclusive control of the pilot zone along the border. Now, at the same time, Trump is telling reporters in the White House that US-Iran negotiations are going well and that a deal could come as early as this very weekend. Yet on the ground, Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, has declared that the IDF will continue ground operation in southern Lebanon, keeping its self-declared security zone and retain freedom to strike in Beirut in response to any attacks. For Iran, which has conditions progress with Washington on ending the fighting in Lebanon and easing pressure on its Hezbollah ally, this is a direct challenge to its red line. So in today's edition of On the News Desk, we will understand if Trump's weekend deal plan with Iran is too ambitious or something concrete could actually happen, even as there are signs from Israeli side that IDF will continue its ground operation in Lebanon. Well, the formal ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon is the product of US-led trilateral talks, bringing officials from Jerusalem and Beirut together under American mediation. According to the joint statement released by the US State Department, the deal's core condition is simple on paper. Hezbollah must stop all fire towards Israel and evacuates its operative from the area south of the Litani River. In exchange, the Lebanese armed forces are supposed to deploy into newly defined pilot zone where they will be the only armed force excluding all non-state actors, which means Hezbollah. Well, this architecture is designed to calm Israel's northern front while giving Beirut and Lebanese army a larger security role along the border. But this very arrangement rests on a delicate assumption that military activities in southern Lebanon will sharply wind down, creating enough stability for both Hezbollah and Israel to step back from the brink. And now, Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz's statement cut directly through that very expectation. He has publicly vowed that Israeli forces will stay inside the security zone in southern Lebanon, including around the Beirut Castle area captured just days ago, and will keep dismantling terror infrastructure there. Katz also insists that Israel retains full freedom backed by Washington to strike Beirut in response to any attacks. Well, if Israel continues intensive ground raids and precision strikes in territory where Hezbollah is still embedded, the ceasefire risks becoming little more than a political label rather than a real change in the rules of engagement. On the Lebanese side, this will make it harder for Hezbollah to justify restraint and for the Lebanese army to move into contested areas as a neutral force. Well, the more IDF pushes, the more the ceasefire becomes a fragile ceasefire in name only. Well, it is clear for Tehran, Lebanon is not a side issue. It is built into conditions for any understanding with the United States. Now, it is not just Lebanon issue, but things look shaky on other fronts too. A separate dispute over Iran's demand for access to frozen assets has become a central obstacle in the US-Iran deal, preventing even the beginning of any understanding from taking shape. Well, Tehran wants billions in oil revenue unlocked, sanction waivers on crude exports, relief from a US port blockade, and most importantly, leverage over the Strait of Hormuz on top of its insistence that the Lebanon front be quiet. Trump, for his part, insists that negotiations are going well, claims that Iran has agreed not to pursue a nuclear weapon, and suggests that a deal could be reached by this very weekend. Now, taken together, the latest developments make Trump's promise of a weekend breakthrough with Iran look far more like a political talking point than a realistic diplomatic timeline. On one side, the Israel-Lebanon ceasefire is conditional on Hezbollah halting fire and pulling out of southern Lebanon, Yet Israel's defense minister openly plans to keep IDF troops on the ground and continue dismantling Hezbollah infrastructure. And on the other side, Iran has tied any deal with Washington to ending precisely this kind of campaign, while also demanding major economic and sanction relief that Washington has so far been unwilling to grant. If the IDF does not significantly scale back its operation, the Israel-Lebanon ceasefire will remain more of a framework than a fully implemented reality, vulnerable to collapse with every new strike or rocket salvo. In fact, this very instability will feed directly into Iran's argument to drag itself out of talks or walk away altogether. Now, in this sense, Trump's weekend deal sounds less like an imminent achievement and more like an aspiration that ignores the condition he himself has allowed to take shape. Well, with that, it's a wrap on today's edition of From the News Desk. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm Yash Goyal signing off for Times Now Digital. Until next time, take care and keep watching this space for more such videos.